Hello everyone and welcome back to the EL99 coursebook. In this video, we're going to be going over Unit 5. We'll start with 5A and then work our way up. So Unit 5 talks about changing times. All right, so before we dive in, I'd like you to take a look at the picture here and answer some questions. So what do you think is happening in this photo, technologically speaking? Um, Take 30 seconds to a minute to look at the photo. If you're in pairs, discuss it with the other person. If you're alone, just think about it for a bit. And also think about the impact that things like this, depending on what you think it is, will have on the way people work in the future. Before we go forward, I'm going to take a quick look at it myself. Um, what technological change does the photo show? It shows that we are, well, what I guess anyway, what I'm guessing is us being even more connected, technologically speaking, to the internet. I mean, work is pretty much all on the internet now, but it'll be even more so, especially with the introduction of things like artificial intelligence, etc. Um, the impact of it is still not clear. There are a lot of positives, but there are also a lot of things that people worry about, like for example, unemployment rates going up, jobs not being the same as they used to be, people not being able to adapt as quickly, things like that. But also on the other side of that spectrum is the positives, and with any change comes resistance. If we take a look at the transition from horses to cars, it was scary at first. um, Things like the introduction of using chalk to write on a board in school was not taken well at first. So anytime there's change, people tend to not like change in general. So it takes a little bit of time, but I do think ultimately it will be for the better. That's just my stance on it. No right or wrong answers. Whatever you think. This is all just discussion. Okay, now let's go to 5A. What do we need? It looks like we're going to be talking about survival in this one. Awesome. So look at the photo on the right. What is the situation? So I'd like you to pause the video and again, take a look at this photo. And what do you think the situation is? What is going on here? Can you personally survive in this kind of situation? And if you had to pick five most important things for survival, what would they be? Remember, I'm not talking about living, I'm talking about survival. So you'll probably discuss the absolute bare minimum. Okay, so I'll take a look at it myself as well. It looks like someone is in a very cold place with a tent and using the bare essentials to survive. How can you survive in this kind of situation? Well, make sure that my basic needs are met. So things like water, shelter, um, sleep, things like that are available so that you don't die, basically. um, and if I had to talk about the five most important things for survival, I'd say, in no particular order, uh, it's going to be water so you don't get dehydrated, food, shelter, especially if it's this cold outside. Um, what else? Perhaps sleep is a big thing as well. Sleep is very underrated. Um, what else would we need for the bare minimum? Maybe besides shelter, like some clothing, depending on the weather as well. That's what I think to further help you like regulate your body temperature better. So that's what I think. Now let's go to the article about survival, and it actually has the answers to what we just said. So what I'm going to do is I'd actually like you to pause the video here and take about a minute to quickly read the article and see what you can gather from it and if you had similar answers to this in the previous question, and then we'll move on. All right, so I'm going to assume you've now read the text. I've read it as well. So let's go to exercise 3. Scan the article to find details of the rule of three. How can we avoid the problems related to the rule of three? Okay, so if you guys read the text, the rule of three is basically 3 minutes, 3 days, and 3 weeks. You can't hold your breath for that long, so 3 minutes is probably your max. 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food. Some of the problems that are associated with these is you need to eat. So you can only live so long without energy, and you get energy through food. So how would we fix the fact that, well, you can't just go to the supermarket and buy chicken or something if you're in a place like this? So we'd ideally hunt or fish to get some of our food. We can also eat plants, but you'd have to make sure that it's not poisonous, because eat the wrong thing and you're gone. Um, so this was three days because this is food. What about 3 weeks? Actually, no, let's actually take a look at the photos. There's some photos here. So the first one was water. Okay, so I did the food one. Let's do water. For water, ideally you'd make sure that you don't go without water for too long, because as is written here, we are 70% water. And at first you feel thirsty, but as you get more and more dehydrated, you start to become tired and ill. And then at around 3 days, you're in serious danger. So to fix some of the problems that comes with this is to actually not drink any water and make sure that the water you're drinking is not dirty. A good way to do that is to boil the water that you have so that it is safe to drink, because dirty water doesn't rehydrate you like at all. Actually, you risk dying or becoming very ill by drinking dirty water. And then we have, this looks like it's breathing. So let's see. Oh, right here, we need to breathe. Some people can hold their breath for 3 minutes. Yeah, can hold breath underwater, but it isn't normal. So ideally, you'd avoid some of the problems by making sure you're in a place that you can easily breathe, which is most of the Earth, thankfully. Make sure you're not like in a burning building or something. Obviously, I don't think anyone would be in a burning building willingly, at least. Make sure that you're in a place that allows you to breathe freely and doesn't have chemicals, like you're not sleeping next to a factory or something. That would not be ideal. And simply don't hold your breath. So if you have to go underwater for longer periods of time to hunt or fish or something, then make sure you go up regularly to breathe and not die underwater. Okay. Now that we're done with that, let's go to exercise 4. In pair, match the yellow highlighted words. Let's see here. Match the yellow highlighted words in the article with the definitions. All right, so here we have some definitions, and I'd like you to read this again, but this time I'd like you to focus on the yellow words. To understand what a word means, if you don't know it, just read before the word and after the word, and it should give you either the full meaning, which is awesome, but if you still don't know what it means, it can give you a general idea of what the word actually means. Okay? So for example, let's take a look at a place that keeps you safe from bad weather or danger. A place that keeps you safe. This could be something like a home, or it could also be right here. It's very important to have shelter. We need protection from wind and rain, and we also need to keep our temperature at the right level. This is shelter because it keeps you safe from weather and danger. So shelter. You're very tired. This one is pretty easy. Very tired. There's another word for it, and it's called exhausted. It's easy to forget, but people need to sleep. When we're tired, we don't think clearly and we make bad decisions. Being exhausted can be dangerous in a survival situation. So the word we're looking for is exhausted. C, needing a drink, adjective. Needing a drink will be, this one is pretty simple right here. Humans are 70% water and we need to drink. Without water, we become thirsty at first. So thirsty here Well, it always means needing a drink. Thirsty. Kill animals for food or sport. So usually when you're killing animals, it's either because you're going to eat them or it's for sport, although not as common nowadays. So this is the word hunt. There aren't any shops in a survival situation, so we need to hunt or fish. Hunt is the word we're looking for. Below the surface of water. Below the surface of water is basically someone being underwater. So Ricardo Baia from, I hope I pronounced that right, from Brazil can hold his breath underwater for more than 20 minutes. That is crazy. But this isn't normal. So underwater means below the surface of water. Describing something you eat or drink that makes you ill or kills you. Um, if it's something that you eat or drink that could make you seriously ill or even kills you, it is the word, where is it? Right here. We can eat plants, but do we know which ones? Some plants are poisonous. So poisonous means just something that you can eat or drink that could make you ill or kills you. Poisonous. Choices you make after thinking. So when you think for a while and then you make a decision based on the thinking that you've made, this is called decision or decisions. We make bad decisions. Actually, let me read that from the start. It's easy to forget, but people need sleep. When we're tired, we don't think clearly and we make bad decisions. So you make bad choices, basically. Decisions. Take in air. Take in air is very simple. It means to breathe. We need to breathe. Some people can hold their breath for 3 minutes. So breathe means take in air. All right, great. Here you go. So shelter, exhausted, thirsty, hunt, underwater, poisonous, decisions, and breathe. All right, now let's go to exercise 6. Here we have a few questions. If you guys are in pairs, you can ask each other these questions and see how the other person answers and vice versa. If you're alone, you can just think about the questions, talk about it with yourself, include some information. Have you ever been very thirsty? Do people hunt in your country? If they do, what do they hunt? Are there poisonous plants or animals where you live? Have you ever built a shelter? Can you swim underwater? Are you good at making decisions? And have you ever been exhausted? I feel like everyone has been exhausted at some point. But yeah, these are some of the questions. Again, you can do this in pairs or alone, no problem. Okay, now let's go to exercise 7. Look at the photos. What are the objects? How do they help people survive? Okay, I'd like you to pause the video and take about a minute to take a look at these photos. Try to find the English word for each for each object here, and then think about how do they help people survive. All right, so I'm gonna assume you've done that. Now let's take a look at object A. So this is very simple. It looks like it's a stainless steel water bottle. And then we have, so this is not a phone. It's more so a GPS device. So the purpose of it is basically to show you around. This is called a lighter, and it helps you light a fire. And this is, what is this? It looks like a yoga mat or some sort of mat. How do they help people survive? Well, this one's pretty obvious. You keep a stainless steel water bottle. It allows you to carry water with you, thus helps you stay hydrated. And as we know, water is very important for survival. A GPS device, very underrated, a great way to know where you are, get around, find someplace safe. All of this is much easier if you have a GPS. A lighter is a tool that allows you to, or is an object that allows you to start a fire. So it's much simpler to grab wood and stuff and start a fire as opposed to doing it manually. And finally, a yoga mat can be used to, or just a mat, I don't really know. It can be used to lay down or sit on it while you eat or sleep. So again, protects you from the environment a little bit. Listen to two people talking about survival situations and what items they use. Okay, so I think they're going to be talking about the objects above. So I'd like you to listen to the audio and make notes on each item from the previous exercise and then compare answers. So compare your own answers to the ones that you'll be hearing from the two people here. So here we go.
So, what do you think is useful in a survival situation?
What do you mean? Like being in the desert?
Yes, or on a mountain in the snow, that sort of thing.
Well, in the desert, the most important thing is to have enough water. So I think a water bottle is the most useful.
Yes, I agree.
What about being lost? You need something to find your way.
Definitely. The best thing is a GPS.
What's that?
GPS is short for Global Positioning System. It's a gadget that tells you where you are. It has a map, and you can ask it for directions.
Sounds good.
The only problem is when the batteries run out.
Maybe a map is better. I mean, a paper map.
You need a compass as well, though.
That's true. And they're really hard to use. What about in the mountains? What do you need when it's really cold?
I think a lighter is really useful. You can start a fire and keep warm.
Good idea. You can also cook and boil water.
How about sleeping?
Yes, I think a mat is important too. You can lie down and rest and not get wet.
You mean like a rubber mat?
Yes, it rolls up and you can carry it with you.
Sounds good.
All right, so that was the audio. I feel like I got a lot of the things right. Um, do let me know if your notes were similar, depending on what you thought first and then what you think now after listening to the audio. All right, great. Now let's go to exercise 9. This one is more hypothetical. We have two survival situations here. One, you are alone on a desert island, and two, you are lost in a foreign country. Choose whatever one you like. It's completely up to you because both are survival situations. What do you need to survive? I need you to make a list of 5 items you need and give a reason for each of them, with number 1 being the highest priority, so the most important thing, and 5 being, well, something that is the least priority. For me personally, I'd pick situation 2. You were lost in a foreign country. That would be very interesting. And some of the stuff that, or some of the items that I think I would need to be able to survive would be, first thing is a GPS. I think a GPS is very important. I use a GPS in my own, like in my own city, so I can't imagine going to a foreign country and or foreign city and not having a GPS that shows me where everything is. So a map or GPS device is very important. Second would be a water bottle because I'll probably be walking around a lot, figuring things out, so it's important to stay hydrated. And then I'd probably choose my phone, which could also double down as another GPS device, and also allows me to call for help, allows me to access certain things, especially if it has data on it and you have internet. You've pretty much figured everything out. You can even use Google Translate to talk to people if they don't speak the same language. It's Mobile phones are great. and they're great survival tools as well. 4 would be something that not a lot of people think about, and that is a first aid kit. Because, like it or not, accidents happen, especially if you're in a foreign country and you're lost, for example. Then your chances of getting into like an accident or getting a cut or a bruise or something are a little bit higher than if you're at home. So having a first aid kit is not important until it becomes very important. So first aid kit is something I think is very important. And then number 5 would be something like some sort of pocket money or emergency cash. Now, obviously, if you're lost, you're probably not going to have a lot of money, but having enough cash to like buy some snacks along the way, paying for public transport, paying for cabs would come in really handy because if you don't have money, you pretty much stuck. You can't go anywhere. So, having some emergency cash is again very important as well. Okay, so that was my situation. If you picked a similar situation, let me know if you had similar items or perhaps you had totally different items. Definitely like give me your reasoning. And if you chose the other situation, you can also talk about it as well. This could be done in class or by yourself or even in the comment section. Feel free. All right, and I think on that note, this concludes the first part of Unit 5A. I hope you learned something new. I hope you had fun, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.